Did you know that in 2025, Florida, once the fastest growing job market in America, is now facing one of the sharpest downturns in the country? Over 500,000 jobs are on the line. Businesses are closing their doors, and workers are leaving the Sunshine State in record numbers. But what's behind this sudden collapse? Is it the housing crisis, rising insurance costs, or something even deeper that no one is talking about? The truth is, Florida's job market isn't just slowing down, it's unraveling piece by piece. And if you think this won't affect you, think again, because the reasons behind this collapse could reshape not just Florida, but the future of America's workforce. Number 1. Florida's housing crisis driving workers away. When you think of Florida, you might picture sandy beaches and sunshine. But for workers, Florida has become almost impossible to afford. Rents in major cities like Miami, Tampa, and Orlando have skyrocketed, doubling in some areas over the past few years. The average apartment now costs more than what many teachers, nurses, and service workers take home in a month. Home ownership, that's slipping even further out of reach as prices climb while wages stagnate. Families are being forced to move farther and farther from their jobs, and many are giving up on Florida altogether. This isn't just a housing problem, it's a job market crisis. Businesses are struggling to keep employees, not because workers don't want the jobs, but because they simply can't afford to live near them. Restaurants, schools, hospitals, and small shops are desperate for staff, but the workforce is packing up and leaving. Employers are left with constant turnover, training costs, and vacant positions they can't fill. The ripple effects are massive. When essential workers like nurses, teachers, and construction crews leave, entire industries start to break down. Think about it. Without affordable housing, the economy becomes hollow. Workers vanish, companies downsize, and job opportunities dry up. Florida's housing crisis isn't just pushing people out of neighborhoods, it's actively collapsing the foundation of the state's job market, and this is only the beginning. Number 2. Florida's tourism decline. Florida has always been powered by tourism. Millions of visitors flock every year to theme parks, beaches, and resorts, making it one of the biggest job creators in the state. But in 2025, the story has taken a dark turn. Rising airfare, unstable global economies, and a string of powerful hurricanes have made travel to Florida less appealing. Even Disney, a giant that almost always sees growth, is reporting drops in attendance, a signal that things are shifting fast. For a state that relies so heavily on vacationers, this decline is more than a hiccup. It's a warning sign. Behind the scenes, the collapse is brutal. Hotels are cutting staff, restaurants are reducing hours, and entertainment venues are struggling to stay open. Seasonal workers who depend on Florida's busy months are left without income. The trickle-down effect is devastating. When tourists stop spending, small businesses, from souvenir shops to tour operators, lose customers too. Jobs once thought to be stable in hospitality are vanishing almost overnight. Tourism has always been Florida's safety net. But when that net starts to tear, every part of the economy feels the weight. Without a steady flow of visitors, billions of dollars disappear from local communities. And when the money stops flowing, jobs vanish, businesses close, and workers are left scrambling. Florida's tourism industry isn't just slowing, it's shrinking. And if this trend continues, the state could be facing one of the biggest job wipeouts in its history. Number 3. Climate change and extreme weather. Florida's beauty has always been tied to its warm climate and coastal lifestyle. But that very environment is now turning against its economy. In recent years, the state has been battered by stronger hurricanes, rising sea levels, and widespread flooding. Businesses face repeated damage, insurance payouts are delayed or denied, and entire communities are left to rebuild, sometimes more than once in a single year. What used to be considered a once-in-a-decade storm now feels like an annual event. This constant cycle of destruction makes it nearly impossible for industries like real estate, construction, and tourism to thrive. Small businesses close their doors after being wiped out multiple times, while larger companies rethink whether Florida is worth the risk. When businesses pull back, workers lose jobs, and the economy takes another hit. The job market isn't just shrinking because of economics, it's also collapsing under the weight of nature itself. And let's not forget the psychological toll. Families don't just lose jobs, they lose stability, homes, and sometimes entire communities. As people move away to escape constant climate threats, Florida loses not only its workforce, but also its future economic backbone. Climate change is no longer an abstract concern. It's a direct, powerful force tearing through the state's job market. We pour hours of research and effort into bringing you these deep dives, and your support means everything. So if you found this eye-opening, drop a comment below telling us which reason shocked you the most, and hit that subscribe button. It's just one click. but it helps us keep creating more videos like this for you. Number 4. Florida's insurance collapse. If there's one issue shaking Florida's job market to its core, it's the insurance meltdown. In just a few years, home insurance premiums have more than tripled for many residents, leaving families with impossible monthly bills. What's worse, several major insurance companies have completely abandoned Florida, saying the risk is simply too high. Imagine paying thousands of dollars a year, only to find your coverage dropped right before hurricane season. That's the harsh reality many Floridians are living through in 2025. The consequences for the job market are enormous. Without affordable insurance, fewer people can buy homes, fewer businesses can open, and fewer investors are willing to take risks. Construction projects stall, banks pull back on lending, and entire industries tied to real estate begin to crumble. Jobs in construction, property management, finance, and even retail all feel the ripple effect. When homes aren't being built or sold, the economy slows, and workers are left stranded without stable employment. Think of Florida's economy like a domino setup. Insurance is one of the first tiles, and once it falls, everything connected to it tumbles down. From contractors to realtors, from bankers to retail employees, everyone is linked to the stability of the housing market. The collapse of insurance doesn't just impact homeowners, it chokes the very foundation of Florida's workforce. And unless a solution is found soon, this crisis could push even more families and businesses out of the Sunshine State for good. Number 5. Overdependence on low-wage industries. Florida's economy looks big and flashy on the surface, but underneath, it has a serious weakness. It's heavily dependent on low-wage industries like tourism, hospitality, and retail. These jobs are plentiful during good times, but they're also the first to disappear when the economy takes a hit. In 2025, with tourism slowing and costs of living skyrocketing, that weakness is turning into a full-blown crisis. Workers in restaurants, hotels, and shops are finding that not only are their jobs unstable, but even when they have work, the pay simply isn't enough to survive. This over-reliance creates a fragile job market. Unlike states with strong manufacturing or tech sectors, Florida doesn't have a balanced economy to fall back on. When storms hit, when tourism dips, or when global markets wobble, workers here are left with very few alternatives. Low-wage jobs don't offer long-term stability, benefits, or growth opportunities. That means workers struggle to build savings, invest in homes, or plan for the future. The result? A workforce living paycheck to paycheck, vulnerable to every economic shift. And here's the dangerous cycle. Because wages are so low, many workers are leaving for states where they can earn more and actually afford a decent life. That exodus drains Florida of talent, which makes businesses struggle even more. The state isn't just losing jobs, it's losing people who could have built the future economy. In the end, Florida's heavy dependence on low-paying industries is acting like a trap, keeping workers stuck in unstable roles and pushing the entire job market closer to collapse. Number 6. Population growth outpacing job creation. Florida has long been one of the fastest growing states in the country. Every single day, over 1,000 new residents pack up their lives and move to the Sunshine State, drawn by warm weather, beaches, and the promise of opportunity. But in 2025, that promise is breaking down. While the population keeps surging, job creation simply hasn't kept up. The result? Too many workers chasing too few jobs, creating intense competition for even entry-level positions. This imbalance is driving wages down and fueling underemployment. Highly skilled workers are taking jobs that don't match their qualifications just to make ends meet. College graduates are competing for the same retail and service roles as high school students. For businesses, it might seem like a buyer's market for labor. But in reality, it creates frustration, burnout, and instability. Workers who can't find meaningful employment often leave the state, adding to the cycle of instability we've already seen in housing, healthcare, and tourism. The picture is even more troubling when you consider the ripple effect. A growing population means higher demand for housing, food, energy, and infrastructure. But when jobs don't match that demand, cracks start to form. Families can't keep up with costs, communities strain under pressure, and businesses struggle to expand. Florida's booming population might sound like good news on the surface, but without enough jobs to support it, the growth becomes a burden, not a blessing. And that imbalance is yet another reason the state's job market is on the verge of collapse. Number 7. Remote work exodus. Just a few years ago, Florida looked like the perfect paradise for remote workers. Sunshine, beaches, and no state income tax. But in 2025, the tide has turned. High housing costs, skyrocketing insurance premiums, and shaky infrastructure are driving remote-friendly companies and workers to look elsewhere. Instead of setting up shop in Florida, many are choosing states with more affordable living, reliable utilities, and stronger internet connectivity. What once looked like an advantage is now a liability. This shift hits harder than many realize. Remote work represents some of the highest-paying jobs in today's economy: tech, finance, design, and digital services. These are the kinds of roles that bring stability and growth to a state's workforce. But when Florida loses its appeal to remote workers, it doesn't just lose individual incomes, it loses entire ecosystems of opportunity. Cafes, co-working spaces, and small businesses that cater to remote professionals also suffer. The absence of this group drains both spending power and innovation from local communities. The danger here is long-term. Remote work isn't a passing trend, it's the future of employment. States that attract and retain remote talent will thrive, while those that don't will fall behind. Florida's failure to adapt means it's not just missing out on jobs today, it's falling out of the race for tomorrow's economy. The so-called paradise for workers is quietly emptying out, and with each departure, the job market sinks deeper into crisis. Number 8. Healthcare staffing crisis. Florida is home to one of the largest retiree populations in the United States, which means healthcare is not just important, it's essential. But in 2025, the state is facing a full-blown healthcare staffing crisis. Nurses, doctors, and medical staff are leaving in alarming numbers, burned out by long hours, low pay compared to the cost of living, and the overwhelming demand from an aging population. Hospitals and clinics are left scrambling to fill positions, often relying on expensive temporary staff just to keep the doors open. The impact on the job market is devastating. Healthcare is one of the strongest pillars of Florida's economy, employing hundreds of thousands of workers. When that system starts to crumble, it creates shockwaves across other industries. Families delay medical treatments because wait times are too long. Communities suffer when clinics close or downsize, and when workers can't get reliable healthcare for themselves or their families, they're more likely to relocate to states where the system works better. Every lost nurse, doctor, or technician represents not just a staffing shortage, but another crack in Florida's economic stability. What makes this especially dangerous is the ripple effect. Without strong healthcare, businesses find it harder to keep employees healthy and productive. Insurance costs rise, absenteeism increases, and companies face yet another reason to reconsider Florida as a place to operate. The healthcare staffing crisis isn't just a problem for hospitals, it's a threat to the entire job market. And if the trend continues, Florida risks becoming a state where not only jobs disappear, but where basic care itself becomes out of reach. Number 9. Education system struggles. Behind every strong economy is a strong education system. But in Florida, schools are facing a crisis that's directly impacting the job market. Teacher shortages are at record highs in 2025, with many classrooms packed beyond capacity and others left without qualified instructors at all. Low pay, high stress, and the soaring cost of living are pushing educators out of the profession or out of the state entirely. For young people growing up in Florida, this means fewer opportunities to receive the kind of education that prepares them for the jobs of tomorrow. The immediate impact is already visible. Businesses that consider relocating or expanding into Florida often look at the education system first. When they see a shortage of teachers, underfunded schools, and declining test scores, many companies choose to set up in states with stronger pipelines of skilled workers. This means fewer investments, fewer jobs, and fewer opportunities for Floridians. The education crisis doesn't just hurt students, it directly weakens Florida's competitiveness in the national job market. And here's the long-term danger. When today's students graduate without the skills employers need, the problem compounds. Florida risks a brain drain, where talented students either move elsewhere for better opportunities or never develop the skills needed to compete in high-demand industries like technology, healthcare, or advanced manufacturing. Over time, this weakens the entire economic foundation of the state. A struggling education system isn't just an academic issue. It's one of the biggest threats to Florida's workforce and its future prosperity. Number 10. Policy and political uncertainty. Florida's economy isn't just shaped by markets and weather, it's also shaped by politics. And in 2025, policy uncertainty has become one of the most disruptive forces in the state's job market. From sudden changes in immigration laws to debates over climate policies and worker protections, businesses no longer feel confident about what the future holds. For employers, stability is everything. When they can't predict what tomorrow's rules will look like, many decide it's safer to invest elsewhere. This uncertainty trickles down into every sector. Agriculture relies heavily on immigrant labor, but shifting policies create labor shortages at the very moment crops need harvesting. Construction companies worry about new building codes, while coastal businesses fear a lack of climate response will leave them vulnerable to disasters. Even large corporations that once saw Florida as a growth hub are quietly scaling back, unwilling to gamble on a landscape that changes with every new piece of legislation. The result? Jobs vanish not because there isn't demand, but because employers don't trust the system to stay consistent. The bigger danger is perception. Florida risks being seen nationwide as a volatile environment for business. And once that reputation sets in, it becomes harder to attract new companies or high-paying industries. Workers feel the instability too. Many worry their jobs could disappear overnight due to political shifts beyond their control. This kind of uncertainty doesn't just erode confidence, it undermines the very foundation of a strong job market. Unless Florida finds a way to restore predictability, businesses and workers alike will continue to search for safer ground elsewhere. Florida's job market collapse in 2025 is not the result of a single failure. It's the outcome of multiple crises colliding at the same time. From the housing meltdown to the insurance disaster, from climate threats to political uncertainty, each problem on its own would be challenging, but together they form a perfect storm that's shaking the foundation of Florida's economy. Workers are leaving, businesses are downsizing, and families are being forced to make heartbreaking choices about whether to stay or go. The truth is clear. Florida's reputation as the land of opportunity is on the line. Without bold action, the Sunshine State risks becoming a place where jobs are unstable, costs are unbearable, and long-term growth is impossible. But while the situation is dire, it's not beyond repair. There are solutions, and they demand urgency. So what can Florida do to rebuild its job market and secure its future? The first step is tackling the housing and insurance crises head-on. Expanding affordable housing projects, regulating rent spikes, and stabilizing insurance markets are essential to keeping workers in the state. Without a place to live, no job market can survive. Next, Florida must diversify its economy. Relying on tourism and low-wage industries is a dangerous gamble. By investing in technology, clean energy, advanced manufacturing, and healthcare infrastructure, the state can create high-paying, future-ready jobs that are less vulnerable to economic shocks. This means incentivizing companies to expand beyond hospitality and retail and building training programs that prepare workers for these fields. Education is another critical pillar. Strengthening teacher pay, modernizing schools, and creating pipelines into STEM and healthcare careers will ensure Florida has the talent businesses need. Without a strong education system, the workforce of tomorrow will never be ready to compete. Finally, political stability matters. Clear, consistent policies on immigration, climate response, and labor protections will restore confidence for both employers and employees. Businesses need to know that the rules of the game won't change overnight. The road is tough, but with decisive action, Florida can turn collapse into comeback. We pour countless hours of research and effort into bringing you these deep dives, and your support keeps us going. Tell us in the comments which of these 10 reasons shocked you the most. And don't miss our previous video for even deeper insights into America's economic future. Please hit that subscribe button. It's just one click, but it makes all the difference in helping us keep creating powerful content for you.